All right, welcome to Omaha Fashion Week Designer Orientation. Thank you guys for taking some time tonight to sit and talk with us. It's going to be really quick and painless. I'm just going to give you guys some information about the upcoming season, and then we'll dive into some question and answer. But first, we will go around and say hello to everyone part of the OFW team that's on the call. I'm Brianna. I'm the one who has been emailing you, and I do all of the backstage production. So I'm going to be your main source of contact in the next following months with questions and getting everything situated for shows. And we can jump over to Sammy if we like.
Hi guys, I'm Sammy. I'm the social media and marketing director for Omaha Fashion Week. So if you guys see anything on socials that has you tagged in anything, that is going to be me that's posting all of that. I'm sure Brie will touch on this later, but we're going to have you guys do a little bit of a social feature questionnaire so that we can highlight all of you guys on our blog and Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff. So yeah, if you see anything online about you, I probably wrote it.
And then Brooke, would you like to say hello? She's wrestling a baby right now.
Hi. I'm Brooke Hudson. I'm the producer of Omaha Fashion Week, and my son is trying to launch himself off the back of the couch. Anyway, this is Graham. I just want to say thank you for being with us and participating in Omaha Fashion Week. We haven't had a spring season since 2020. We managed to get one season in the spring, like in February of 2020, and haven't had one since because of the pandemic. And so anyway, it's going to be really great to be back in the spring. And this season is always really special because it's our Fashion for Good season. And we do focus a lot on young up and coming talent, high school students. And sorry, guys. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yes, it's a great season, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And I can't wait to meet all of you. And thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Brooke and Graham. And then I'll pass the mic over to Alyssa Diltz, who's on the call, and she can give a little quick intro too.
Hey guys, my name's Alyssa Diltz. If I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, it's fun to see you. I have the honor of casting all of the models and being your casting director for Omaha Fashion Week, and helping you find all of the best people that'll make your design shine. So a lot of our communication goes through Brianna because I by day run a modeling agency, and so I'm inundated with lots of communication, and I want to make sure I never miss anything from you guys. So we kind of collect it all. She puts it together to me, and then I'm able to get back to you. So we'll talk a little bit about that process later, but super excited to be on the call tonight.
Thanks, Alyssa. Okay, well, you guys have met all of our friendly faces. You'll see us floating around during the shows, and we're always a resource for you guys throughout the season. But for tonight, I'll go over a little bit of a schedule for us. We're going to talk about all the upcoming important dates, and then Alyssa's going to touch on some model casting procedures for you guys. And then we'll hop over to a rack check procedure discussion, just really quick going over what that day is going to look like. And then we'll talk about some different production elements that you get as a benefit of being a part of the show, as well as some marketing elements you get as a part of being part of the show. And then we will go over all of the forms that you'll need to complete, so you have it all in your mind, those dates too. And then we'll open it up to question and answer. But of course, this is just a friendly chat. So if you guys have any questions that come up as we're talking, feel free to chime in or put them in the chat as we go. And I'm happy to answer those. But I'm going to spend most of this time screen sharing with you guys. I sent you guys an email with the two key websites that you'll be touching on throughout the season. And we're going to start with the designer production page. So let me screen share that with y'all. Alrighty, so this is going to be your main source of information right now. Until we get to having all of the rest of the talent onboarded, this is basically where you need to live, and it's going to have everything that you can circle back to throughout the season in case you have questions. So you just met most all of your contacts right here in this section, but in addition to the people that you met tonight, we have Heather and Jameson Hooten as our house photographers on the runway, and then music director Keith Roger. All of these people's emails are available to you throughout the season in case you need to get in touch with them. All right, let's dive into our key dates. I'm not going to dive too deep into some of these because we'll circle back to them, but this gives you a highlight of what we're going to get into. So we're at designer orientation. Congratulations. Thanks for coming. And the next thing that we'll be getting into is a model casting prep workshop on Zoom. This is not for you guys, but we would love for you to spread the word. If any hopeful models want to learn tips and tricks with Alyssa, this will be on Zoom and it'll prepare them for the casting process. I believe this season we do not have any children's wear looks, but if that is incorrect, please let me know and we will set up a casting at Develop for you. But the next thing that we'll get into is a public casting at Oakview Mall on January 14th. We would love for you to spread the word about this. It will just be in Omaha this season, and it'll be at 1 p.m. This is open to the public. If you have any models that you're just so dead set on wanting to walk for you, you need to send them to this casting. Alyssa will get more into depth about our casting process, but definitely spread the word on that. And then we'll go through a little model selection period. So June 19th and 20th are going to be your dates to look through an entire public archive of all of the models that we have available to you and pick your favorites. And you'll get notices about who you have been paired with in late January, and we'd love for you to reach out to them right away. Just say hello. You don't have to have any information for them, but you're going to be working primarily with young adults. And in this day and age of communication, it's good to get it out there so that they know that, okay, I actually got cast. This is a real thing. I need to be looking at my email. Not everyone checks their emails, so definitely feel free to text them as well. And then the really exciting thing that I'd love to talk about next is going to be end of January to middle February. You guys will be receiving a designer discount, which is 15% off tickets just for the night that you're showing. And then at the end of the season, we collect all of those ticket sales and we give you 10% of the sales we made with your code. So this is an amazing way for you guys to rack up some money, get your family and friends in the door with a little bit of a discount. We've had people make up to $300 on this. So it's a great way for you guys to make a little bit at this show. And then we will circle back again to rack check and get into that a little bit more, but that will be taking place in person on February 5th at the Omaha Design Center. This is a mandatory event. Models will be provided for you. And I'll touch base on this a little bit more later. And then also spread the word about Model Bootcamp, February 8th. That'll be on Zoom as well. That's just for the models that are cast for you. And I'll give you a reminder at that point later on. And then we get into showtime. So February 20th is going to be our show rehearsal. This is required only for models. Designers do not have to attend, but designers seem to find that it's a great time for you guys to do last minute fittings, get your whole group together, chat with them, show them pieces of the collection. If you want to do that, you're welcome to use the space or you're welcome to just come and watch. And then February 24th and 25th are going to be the show nights, also at Omaha Design Center. And then following that, we will have Shop the Runway Sunday, also at Omaha Design Center. And it is an amazing sales driven event to get you guys some money. It's a free sign up, and with your sign up, you get a booth and you get a rack, and you're able to sell your current or past merchandise to the public, and you collect all those sales. So this is a great free thing for you to take part in that will get you some money and get your name out there to the public, which I highly encourage. And we will also have donuts and mimosas, and it's just a fun little mingling event as well. So definitely put that on your calendar. You'll have a chance to sign up for that officially later on in the season. And then we open up applications for fall in early March. We never sleep. So definitely keep that in mind. And if you're welcome to join us in the fall as well. But with that gives us a great full scope picture of what the next few months are going to look like. I am going to pass it over to Alyssa Diltz. And she's going to share with you guys a little more in-depth information about model casting processes. So Alyssa, take it from here.
Hey. Okay. So, model casting, I mean, obviously I'm a little partial that this is the most fun part because I represent many of these people and I believe so wholeheartedly in our community and providing not only my professional models that are typically paid for this type of work, but also incorporating people from the public is really important to me. I see it as a way of supporting you guys as designers and having your vision come to life and be fully realized. So we want to make sure that we find the best people possible. And how we do that time and time again is just by creating processes that we've tried to perfect and are open to changes. But definitely if you work the process, what is outlined for you, Sydney, who's on this call, heard me screaming that from the rooftops today. She's also my intern and a model herself. And I was saying, if people just follow the processes, everything will go super duper smooth and we'll all have a positive experience. So I really encourage you to lean into this document, which kind of explains it all, and follow directly through that. So at the casting, we always say that when you come to a casting, yourselves as a designer, if you're available that day, it always gives you a better experience, right? It's part of seeing these people live, is much easier to see them live, take down the numbers, and then go back to the videos to reference. Otherwise, you might be sitting there. Sometimes we have upwards of over 300 people that attend these castings. And let me tell you, sitting through 300 pictures and 300 videos is not it. But when you're at the actual casting and we got the DJ pumping, you get to see kind of the fun part for me, how that I like to do is observe some of the models in line too, and their excitement. It can really become part of your process as a designer to find your muse and what are you inspired by, and can really make a difference than just seeing the video. So I encourage you to come to that if you can, but if you can't, everything will be available online. Like I said, there will be 2 still images, so a close-up headshot as well as a full-length image and a short video of the models walking for your review. So once you go to the casting or make your selections, or rather after the casting, a lot of our work begins, and Brianna and her team compile all of that information into a database. We, the models are submitting to us also when their availability is. So that's why you always want to have backups, because you might, your number one model choice might not even be available for the night that you're showing. So you want to, have many of your favorites in a list and rank them. And I'll talk about that more in a second, how important that is. But it gives you an idea. Like I said, we're kind of compiling all the information, and then that information will be sent to you, and you want to try to do your selections as quickly as possible. The quicker that you get them in, the quicker I can start playing, as we call it, my Tetris game, of which is about 3 to 4 days of nonstop sunrise to sunset work of trying to figure out where these models fit. And what I mean by that is a few years ago, we changed our policies and we tried very hard, almost 100%, to only have one model walk for one designer per night. And there's multiple reasons for that, but mostly it's about your realizing your entire look head to toe for you as a designer in particular. So you're able to do the hair and makeup that you want and not have to rush that. You're able to fit that model and not have to rush dressing them. In previous years, we would change models backstage and we've had seams ripped last minute, a model rushing too much that she bent over and the whole dress, it's not even wearable. So this prevents those types of disasters, fashion disasters, from happening. So we assign one model per designer per look, or look per designer. So that's why we say Tetris, and why we say so important that you have multiple backups. So the process that I can easily, or try to easily explain it in my head, but try to explain in the most simplest form, is if you submit, let's say you're doing 5 looks and you submit only 5 models to me, and then another designer submits 5 models, his or her 5 model looks, but they submit 10 model selections and options for me. When I look at your list, although I know that you want those 5 really bad, I am going to give the person who gave me the additional flexibility to work within their schedule and book other models the opportunity first. And yours may be taken. Those 5 I might have to use them for her 5 because she gave me kind of that flexibility. And now I have to choose 5 new models, and I have, only your description to base that look off of. And that, it's tricky for me, right? I have to be diplomatic to everyone. I want to be respectful so that you can have those muse models and who you really want. But there's different things that come up that I don't have control over. So I am trying my hardest, but my best, most favorite designers are one that give me 1,000 alternates, because then if I do have to do a replacement, we know that you like that person in some way, shape, or form, or fashion, in order for them to best represent your brand. I really, it's very challenging for me when people don't give me those alternates. It makes me think that you're not part of the process, and then I'm not going to be a part of that process either. It makes me step back.
So can I interject?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think just to kind of make it really clear, the designers who submit the most alternates are the ones that are going to get preference when it comes to their models, right?
I do, and that it sounds like when you say it, when I'm saying this, it sounds backwards. Why then shouldn't that person that submitted 5 get those 5 then? But what it comes down to, guys, there's so many different moving parts and reasons why one model is booked for someone and isn't. Like every designer could pick the same first model. How do I decide who gets that model then, right? So then I'm trying to think, okay, well then I can't give them their first choice, but I'll give them their second, third, and fourth. And then I'll skip that, right? So I'm playing this game of what's fair. And so what's most fair to me are the people that help me out in that process and provide me with as many alternates as possible. So
so the goal is you want to get every designer as many of their top picks as possible. But
sometimes they get all of them if the other people haven't chosen them.
But what makes it the easiest to do that is when they give you lots of alternates.
Yes.
Got it.
Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. So sometimes I'm not on this call, and when Brianna invited me, I was like, yes, I would love to just explain my process a little bit more, because truly at 100% comes from, let me help you get all of the models that are on your list. And if you help me, I'll help you get there as well. So that's definitely kind of the thought process behind it. Cool. Does that make sense?
The only other thing I would say is some designers don't want to pick their models. They want Alyssa.
Ooh, that's an even more fun one.
Yeah. So that actually is an option. If you don't want to sit there, if you're not able to come to model call and you don't want to sit there and look through 300 photos, Alyssa is happy to select models for you. If you give her what your measurements are and kind of what your look is, she's happy to do that. She does that quite frequently. So and we have a lot of new designers on this call. So I think it's important for you to know that is an option.
That's a really fun option, because especially when you get into your descriptions, if you tell me what you're looking for, I mean, that's what I do for a living, is trying to match those things up. And I then view you more as a client, and I want to make everyone happy, just like my clients, just like you. And so that gives me the freedom to, because sometimes models that are really experienced and maybe got overlooked, and we'd love to get them booked that day, didn't get the opportunity. So there's so many amazing models that I know of that we can slot in for you. So it's not like oh, well, if I don't tell her, then I'll just get whatever's left over. Honestly, our best designers that have been veterans for 10 plus years now trust me and do that. And they always end up with the best models, because of that simple fact a lot of times does come through. So, yeah, that's always, always, always an option as well, for sure.
Yeah. And it does take a lot of Alyssa's time, and she's volunteering her time to do a lot of this for us, actually, all of it when it comes to models. And so getting those selections in by deadline is also really important because she literally blocks out several days in her calendar of not working on her business, which gives her an income. She devotes it to what we're doing and to designers, and spends those days she has set aside to do this Tetris game that she's got to do. So the more alternatives you provide, the faster she can go. And when you get your selections in on time, it really helps her maximize what she's doing with her, like the efficiency of those few days that she sets aside to cast all of these models for you.
Yeah, can I touch on that a little bit? One thing I will say is Alyssa and I have a solid process of exactly the days and times that we can do these things. So we sat down months ago before the fall season, and we said, okay, for spring, what does your calendar look like? What do these days look like? And we ensured that I had exactly the amount of days I needed to get all the model data together, that you guys had exactly 2 days to fill out the model form, and that she has exactly the amount of days she needs to make that casting magic happen. So if you do not submit your form on time, I'm sorry, she's going to pick your models for you. There's just nothing else we can do about that because, like I said, this is going to be an entire week of our life, if not more, where we're just thinking about casting models for you. And I guarantee you, if you don't submit your form, I'm going to be texting you, so you'll have a reminder. But just please be sure to work with us on this because you want to be happy with the models that you have, and we want to make sure that this works out as well as it can for everyone. So that would be amazing. And then, like I had said before, if you have specific people in mind where you're already thinking, oh, I want so-and-so to work for me, you have to send them to the model casting at Oakview in Omaha. That's the only way that they can be considered to walk.
And if that is the case, you have to tell Brianna before the casting as well. Because if I don't get those notes, I'm not, there's no way. And even at that time, it's not guaranteed, just to let you know. Like we've had designers that even had like their little cousin come, and I booked them for a different designer that same night. Someone else wanted them and they were higher up on someone else's list. And I had no, like, I didn't know. So you've got to be able to communicate that. And because yeah, it just makes the process so much easier. So definitely make sure that once you get those in, once Brianna then turns around and sends you the information, super duper important just to shoot everyone a really quick email and or even text. I always try to duplicate how I communicate in 2 different ways until I get a response. Just make sure everyone's on board. If you're finding a model isn't responsive, let me know and we're happy to replace them. We have so many models that come to this casting that don't end up getting booked, and we'd love to give that someone that's excited about it the chance to walk and tell all their friends about it and come see it. So definitely communicate that quickly to us. The other thing is, after you have or even during the process, I may text you if I'm confused about something. If you see a text, it's coming from me. If I just beg of you, if you could get back to me really quickly. I know a lot of us have full-time jobs and are in school, things like that. Totally understand, but it is imperative, like what our timelines. I'm working on something. I might be thinking about 25 other models and designers that I'm doing. And right at that moment, I need the answer to that question in order for those others to fall into place. And if I don't, that's okay. I can understand you're in school or work, but if it takes 2 days to get back, I mean, like it might be hinging on a fact of kind of like a domino effect of other things. And I may be forced to just go and make the best decision I can in that moment for you. And we have to go with it because it's kind of like I say, domino effect. When we tell these models they're walking, their family buys them tickets to come see them. Like then if a model is pulled or something happens, then we have to try to get them in with other. I mean, it's just there's a lot of things going on in play there that we want to make sure we're just the best we possibly can be in communication. I do almost 100% of my communication via text. And I would identify myself before I texted you, just so you know.
Yeah, and on that note, another thing that came to mind when she was talking about that is I know some of you guys are a little bit flexible on your look counts right now, which is totally fine. You have time to play around with that. But come time of model casting, you'll need to know exactly how many models that you want and have a clear idea of those measurements and all of that good stuff so that we can get you situated. Because if you decide, oh, I'm going to drop a look, and like she said, we've cast a model, we can't make that happen. We're going to have you show something with that model, because those models get so excited.
And it's devastating. It's really a bummer.
And not only is it devastating to them, it's also like they're going to be calling me, they're calling Alyssa, their dad is calling me, talking about how their daughter is crying. And it like takes up a lot of our lives, easing these people's sadness. So please make everyone happy, make some decisions ahead of time, play with your collection, look at it, and make some cuts if you need to. Like she has said, it's always easier to add than take away too. So if you are playing around with things and you're not sure about a look, don't cast for that model. And then if you need to cast more last minute for that look, we're happy to accommodate that. That's way better than cutting anyone.
Yeah, Alyssa she's never not come through with a model. I mean, even like
Even 10 minutes before the show
5 minutes
starts.
before your collection's about to hit the runway, model gets sick in the bathroom, like Alyssa will come running in with a fabulous model. So
we have someone in the audience I can pull. That we got all the tricks. So
yeah,
I can always add. It's just really hard to subtract.
Too many little broken hearts, and when when a model's brokenhearted, we're brokenhearted, and same with the designer. If anybody in our community is brokenhearted, we feel that deeply. So we try to avoid disappointing people as much as we can.
Yeah, and if we sound a little bit harsh, it's only because we've experienced all of these
It's a trauma
scenarios before, so now we're just trying to avoid them all.
Exactly.
While we're chatting about this, does anyone have questions about casting? Anything come to mind?
Can I ask you a question about the first part
Yeah.
that we were talking about, the intro? So I'm flying out obviously from the East Coast. What do you recommend as like the day I should be there by the latest? And when do you recommend then flying out? Like if you had to give me like a time period.
Yeah, it depends on what you feel that you need. Some designers do virtual fittings, and with their collection, they're like, that's going to be fine. Everything's good. And they might ask the models to meet up the day before or that day to do any final touches on their looks. But if you feel that you need more time or it doesn't work with certain model schedules, you can plan that out in advance. I would say your arrival just needs to be based on when you feel comfortable fitting your models and finalizing your collection, whether that be a few days or whatever it needs to be. And then you can go home the next day if you need to, but we'd love to keep you for Shop the Runway Sunday. So that would be my advice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
I have a question for Alyssa. Are we given measurements of models, or is it just across the board? Like these are the measurements, like the under sheet said?
That is a big part of why the models are required to come in person. Certainly people love to ask us if there's a virtual option. There is not, because we have to get those accurate measurements. So those are taken, and we train the people that are taking those, and they're either models themselves or a designer or from OFW staff, to make sure that they're accurate representation of bust, waist, hip, inseam, or whatever else needs to be collected that day. So to answer your question, they are specific to each model.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and when we send you your confirmation, I will loop you and all of your models into one big email that says, welcome, you guys are going to be showing for Tiffany Brown, and it will have a little copy pasted spreadsheet that has models' names, numbers, email, bust, waist, hip, height, inseam, all of that at your disposal, and shoe size, all of the things that you need. So you'll be able to reach out and know all of their information right away. Jaina, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I guess, sorry, I have a few questions. So for if we attend the casting for the models, is there like a specific location that we would be, or is it kind of just like mingling throughout to kind of watch?
There are chairs that we've had out in the past. We've had designated designer areas, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know that at Oakview there was room for that this year. So there are chairs. If you get there, I know you'll have a seat to sit in. But we kind of change it depending upon the layout every year.
We do try to have a spot. Yeah, there's going to be some chairs and so, yeah. Sometimes there's a designer area and sometimes not, but there's plenty of space to get a good vantage point of what's going on.
Mhm.
And there is a runway, so the models will be elevated.
Yeah,
Still
I
be able to-
can't think of a single time that there wasn't a chair and even a few audience members to sit in.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then, so the other thing I was curious about is, so if we choose, because I know you said that having those model list, and the longer it is, the easier it is for you. If we are only seeing like maybe a few models that we really want for that look or things like that are meeting kind of those criteria, is it then in that case, is it okay to maybe only have like maybe one or two backups, but then maybe put a description of what we're really looking for that you could maybe help with?
So are you talking per look or so specific that only certain ones would fit into those looks, or in general?
I mean, maybe, or just kind of like in general, like, let's just say we didn't see somebody who really caught our eye or things like that.
So yes, what I would do in that instance, let's say you're doing 5 looks, there's only 2 that you're like, oh my God, these are amazing. You could say that. Oh man, I would still pick alternates.
Yeah.
There's gonna be like 300. The only time that really happened, it was one time, one season. It was either last season or a few seasons ago, and it was because what was that deal? She turned in like per look had different models and different alternates. But I gotta tell you, that was like the worst. That was really
We'll
tricky.
never do that again. She was a
Yeah.
vintage designer though, and her
That's what it was.
so specific to sizing. There was absolutely no wiggle room because she didn't have extra fabric. So
Yeah, that was awful. I gotta tell you, that was just, I would say either, like, hey, Alyssa, these 2, if I can get them, it would be amazing. They're totally my look. But if you want to pick the other 3, that's super cool. That would be a thing. But otherwise, I would turn in all alternates and no, you might not get those 2 that you were really into, but it might also give me an idea of kind of what you were jiving with,
yeah,
Right.
alternates will give her an idea of what your overall vibe is as well. And you're going to have 300 to 400 models to look at. So chances are very good that you'll find some that you really like. The more alternates, the better. But then you can always send us an email or a text that says, I really only liked these 3. The rest are just like ideas and you can play with it. And we can work better with that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess that's kind of what I was thinking along the lines of, because I have like specific body types that I want, or I have like more of, and then I'm usually also very attentive to how like my models walk or carry themselves or things like that. So then if they don't necessarily stick out, it's like, well, there's so many, which one might be the best?
Totally.
Yeah. Shabiba, did you have a question?
I did have a question, but it's pertaining to, I guess, the tickets. I already have like a few family members that have already purchased tickets. So how would that work with I guess you said in the beginning about some sales or something for a certain time period or something, or 10% or something like that?
Yeah. So yes, we tend to discount most heavily at the beginning of the sales cycle. So I think we just wrapped up like a really big Cyber Monday, 50% off your tickets thing. And now we still have an early bird sale going on. That's like 20% off, and that should run through the end of December. And then that right after model calls when we do designer discounts. And the designer discount is, it gives, each of you will have a code. So Shabiba will have a code, and whoever uses that will get 15% off the face value of their ticket. And then you, Shabiba, will get 10% of that face value. So if it was a $100 ticket, whoever's using your code would get it for 85, and then you would receive $10. And so it's kind of up to you. I mean, the best discounting is happening now when it comes to the overall price of tickets, but the discounting that is best for you as a designer happens later in the sales cycle once we cast models, because you'll get those kickbacks. Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Awesome.
Any other model questions? Otherwise,
I have a question about measurements. Do you know if they get a girth measurement? So from the crotch all the way up through the shoulder, for like
Definitely do not.
bodysuits and things like that?
Definitely do not.
No.
Females are bust, waist, hip. Males are waist, inseam. So any addition, what it would be great is after your models are cast to capture that information.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
and you'll get a good idea based on the height description as well. So you won't be completely in the dark. You're talking about the jumpsuits that you're making probably.
Yeah, it's mostly like some people have shorter, longer
torso.
torsos. Like they might actually have, be okay height wise. They might be plenty tall, but maybe they have a short torso, and that's what I'm looking for. I just want to make sure that jumpsuit isn't too snug in the torso. But I'll get that after. I'll just talk to everybody and then have, see if I can walk them through getting that measurement or something.
Honestly, so through COVID, I've learned a lot of people can measure, especially if you do it virtually. So like if they're holding it wrong, you can do it with them just like now and walk them through it. And it doesn't take that long. And most people have tape measures at home. And if they don't, it's so easy and accessible to get and request that. So I think that's a pretty fair request of you to ask those models for that.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll get a good idea based on their full body photo, and then you can play around with it since you have so many models in your collection. Maybe you can swap out if one doesn't work. So
yeah, I would say flexibility is the key. Like when you make something that is the exact measurements to that said model, just remember they could call in sick. They could, get sick 5 minutes beforehand. So you got to think along those lines. And then if it is 5 minutes before and you really don't have time to refit or things like that, you just have to really kind of, backstage, we're going to be really supportive and trying to figure it out as best as we can. And you just got to roll with it. Like, let's slap a smile on our faces. It's part of what's fun about fashion and live events. As long as everyone tries to stay positive and find a solution, we just really have to figure it out. So that's what we're there to help you do. But it definitely is super helpful when we do it with the smile and try to work with it and not say, no, that won't work. Okay, cool. So give me some reasons as to why you don't think that, and I can help come up with a better solution. But really, we don't really work in the world of no's or can'ts. So it's like, okay, what are we going to do? And how can we make it less painful?
Alyssa will literally sew your models into your garments backstage. She has done that. She's done that. So yes, we are there to support for sure backstage, however we can.
Definitely.
all the way.
I have a question. So this is kind of for everyone, like on the staff of Omaha Fashion Week. How do you guys prefer to be contacted if we have a question, text or email?
So for the most part, you will be contacting me. You can feel free to shoot me a text. I would say an email is great if it's involving other parties, like you need me to get in touch with so-and-so, or if, it's a more detailed ask. But if you want to just get my attention right away, shoot me a text. I'll see it immediately and get back to you right away. My phone number is on that page. And then I can also, when I send this recap email, I'll also remind you guys of it. But just add me into your contacts. If there is a time where you're reaching out about models, Alyssa likes texts, especially if it's an urgent request, but you can always email us. And then Sammy's email is also included on that backstage page. But yeah, I'm going to be your main person.
Yeah, and caveat to that, I like text when we're in that leading up to week of shows. Everything else though, prior to that week of, should go to emailing Brianna, because
Except for during the casting, if you ask them a question.
well, yes, that if I'm initiating it, yes. Because again, my process, guys, I can't, if you send me an email, it's gonna get lost in the sauce of like 3,000 emails a week that I get. And my intention is to give you as much attention as possible. So our process is when you email Brianna about model issues or things that you need from me, it goes into a spreadsheet, and I set aside time at the end of my day or end of my week each week and knock those out. So I make sure I give you all the attention and answer everything you need. So it's kind of like that process. So it's a very one-sided relationship. I'm realizing that, right? I can text you, but you can't text. No, I'm kidding. It is.
That is what it is.
Dang it, it is. You can email anytime to Brianna. She'll compile it though, and I will get you the answer you need. I promise you that. I've never not responded to something.
But it is a batch email situation when it comes to models, because it's one of those things where you can't dip in and out of it all the time mentally, because there's so many moving parts when it comes to dealing with model casting and changes that take place, and they take place all the way up until the show starts.
Yeah, that's the
So
thing.
it's easier for Alyssa to dip into that and get in that mindset once a week. It's just more efficient for her. So when you do ask questions about models, just unless it's extremely urgent, text Brianna. But for the most part, those questions, they'll batch them and you'll get an answer probably in a week about those things, unless they're super urgent.
That's a very nice way to put it.
Exactly. And I'm going to be your main person. So if you are like, oh, I still haven't heard about my casting replacement, can you check on this for me? I'm going to text Alyssa about it, and that's how that's going to go. Like, you can text me whenever. Chances are I'm not going to respond if it's after 10 because I'm like an old lady, but I will still get it and I'll respond the next day. So just shoot me a text whenever it comes to your mind. It's better for me to have the information and be able to like communicate with you than for you to feel like you're in the dark or we don't know what's going on. And like Alyssa said, once show week happens, about 2 weeks before shows, my inbox is flooded. So please shoot me a text, because there's just no way that I'm going to see it in a timely manner with doing setup and managing all the things that are moving. So that's, you can call me too. You don't have to just text me. But that's the best way to reach me.
I do want to tack on one little comment to this conversation. If you DM Omaha Fashion Week about anything that is related to what we're talking about tonight, I'm literally just going to text Bree and say, this designer is DMing us. So you should just text her anyway. Please don't DM the social media with your questions, because I don't know the answers to them and Bree does, and she will text you. But that being said, if there is something that you do happen to see on social media that for some reason is wrong, or you want tagged differently or something like that, please do DM Fashion Week, because you can email that to Bree, but she's just going to send it to me. So unless it has something to do with tagging or social media specifically, please just don't DM Fashion Week, because I'll just send it right to Bree.
That also, email and blog will also be Sammy. So any public marketing communications, if you, or we really highly encourage you don't do this, but if you have to change your label name, that's a Sammy thing. Please don't do that, please. We have to change it in like 12 different spots, but we've had people do it. And if you have a valid reason, we understand. But otherwise, internal stuff is just going to be, I'm your gal. Do you guys have any other questions before we move on to rack check? Okay, let's talk about it. I'm going to share my screen again. just as a reminder, all this stuff is available to you after the call. I will be sending a recording, but you'll also have this website to reference. Okay, so rack check is the day where all the production elements come together beautifully. Basically, you will arrive to the design center during your timed slot. We'll give you an interview time, and we encourage you to arrive at least an hour before, if not even earlier. That way you can meet your featured model for the day. You can sit down with hair and makeup, chat about your entire look, your overall vibe. And what will happen is your signature model, which is like your featured look, usually your finale last look that walks, your best one that you want photographed, is going to sit down with hair and makeup, get that look on, and will be full head to toe as you'd like them on the runway. Now, this might not be your featured model. Alyssa will be selecting a model for you. It will be a developed model. And that way we can ensure that they're absolutely super professional, they're photo and video ready, they're trained in those aspects, and they're going to represent your brand in the best way possible. If you selected a developed model in your collection, chances are good that that will be your featured model unless there's a sizing discrepancy. But we'll work that out with you one-on-one later, and Alyssa will be making those selections and I'll be sending that out. So once you get that model looking great, they look show ready, you're going to go in with the panel and you're going to interview with them for the last time. This will be the last time that they see your collection before it hits the runway, and they're going to want to see the entirety of the collection. So that one fit model is going to be a beautiful way to display your collection, but you'll also have a rolling rack full of the rest of your looks where you're going to show them up close and personal, your hems, your seams, your all of the details, so that they can get really into the nitty gritty with you, and make sure that you're 100% ready to show. They will also be scoring you and giving you some comments that day, so that you can take those away with you and complete the collection. You'll have like 3 weeks to do that. So that's plenty of time. And then after you go through that interview with the panel, you hop over to photo and video with Heather and Jameson, and they're going to take that featured model and get a little description from you of what you want your brand to be portrayed as. And they're going to take some photo and video that will be shown on the big screens during the show before your collection walks the runway. So there will be a lovely introduction video that plays while one of our producers talks in the background mysteriously about how amazing your collection is. And if there's any like key elements to your collection that you really want the audience to know before they see it, I am sure to include those in our written descriptions. That way they kind of have a frame of reference for what they're about to see. So all of these elements come together during rack check in a really awesome way, to make sure that the show and your collection is just beautiful that day. And then the last element that you'll do after the photo and video is you'll hop over to LED and pick your background display. And you will also be hearing from our music director, Keith Roger, via email, and he's going to be asking you about your music suggestions. He is an expert in his field, just like Alyssa. So I'm going to put the caveat of you can also offload your music selection to him. In my personal opinion, the best music selections are the ones where people just tell him to do whatever he wants. He's an audio engineer in his time, so he makes music. So he'll pick something really awesome and one of a kind that matches your collection if you let him have his creativity, but he'll also work with you one-on-one about what you'd like, either way. And then LED content, I'll get into this a little bit later when we dive into production elements, but there's some specific caveats on how to make it look really, really beautiful. But in summary, it's the nice graphic video that's floor to ceiling behind the runway, that shows the entire time your collection walks. So this rack check day is super imperative that you're here at the design center with us, that you're on time, that you're excited and ready to go so that we can get everything together for shows, and work together really awesome. And then if you are super far out of state, please reach out to me because we can coordinate that one-on-one. But otherwise, we do require that you are in attendance. And a lot of people have found that this is a great time to do their fittings. So you are welcome to use the space at the Omaha Design Center and invite all of your cast models to come that day and do some fittings. It's a huge space, so you'll have plenty of room. And I'll send along the entire time that we'll be there, but it'll be all afternoon to evening. So you'll have the whole day to use the space for fittings if you'd like. Does anyone have questions about rack check? Awesome. I did a great job explaining it then. Okay.
I just want to add one thing about rack check while we're still here. Those kind of blurbs where Bree had kind of mentioned that the introduction to your collection will be over the speakers, and it'll kind of be like, you know, this is the next collection, and it's based on a few sentences of what you tell us. I will probably be coming up with an outline for those beforehand and kind of bringing them to you at Rec Check this year. So if you were involved in a previous season and I came up to you and said and asked you these questions, this year will be a little bit different. I'm gonna kind of have those ready to go, and then you can kind of approve, deny, add comments kind of thing to what I've already come up with, so that way we can get them as accurate to what you would like your collection to be portrayed as possible. And so I'm not making up random things at the last minute that you might not want be said. So just have that in mind. If you have anything incredibly specific that you want to be used to describe your collections, let me know. Otherwise, I will be using probably your interviews and applications and such like that in your panel discussions.
Bo, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so you had said that on that day of the production and stuff, there'll be like pictures and videos. Do the designers get like a copy of that or at all? Or is that just for you guys?
So I'm not sure. I feel like we have made that. Have we not made that available in the past?
So it's like technically available. I don't think we've sent it out in the past, but I don't see why not, if you're okay with that.
I mean,
it's available
it
if
would
you
be
request it from Heather and Jameson.
Right. We
What?
have to get that content from our videographers, which is why we don't just like shoot it out to everyone. So
Mhm.
we have sent off like one-off ones where people have asked us specifically. But we could
I-
request all of them.
I like that would be. Oh, you mean all the photos that were taken that day?
No, no,
Okay.
just the video and the photo.
The photo. I think that would be really great for the designers to have access to that, because if you can post that on your social media channels and tag us and Heather and Jameson, that benefits everybody. So
Yeah,
Let's-
I would say the one disclosure is that it would be required to give credit in
yes,
any kind of reprint, because we have seen it go on like online magazines and that stuff isn't credited. And I would want to make sure that Omaha Fashion Week, Heather and Jameson, and Developed Models are all included in that for sure.
okay. Well, it sounds like we need to have some internal discussions just to make sure that all of that makes sense. But
It'd be so cool for sure.
yeah. So to be determined. But yeah, we will get back to you.
Thank
Awesome,
you for your
I
question.
appreciate that.
We love any chance to start thinking about new ways we can support you guys. So we will get back to you, but it sounds like a strong yes with just some rules in place. But Alyssa, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say that when you brought up fittings, and I mean, not to like keep talking about Sydney, but something that Brooke and Nick Hudson founded was originally called the Fashion Institute Midwest, now is rebranded as a Fashion Arts Collective, is right down the street from ODC and is available many hours to not only do fittings, there's a professional salon and fitting room that you can use, But also to work there. There's huge cutting tables, pressing tables, industrial sewing machines, and that is open to the public and free to use. And especially leading up to Omaha Fashion Week, they add additional hours. Sydney herself creates their into the very late hours. She goes outside of those hours that are open to the public, but that's kind of a really cool path that I know everyone on this call wants you to know that you're supported by, because like Sydney started out as a teenage designer and now gets free range. She has her own code to go in there at any time that she wants to use that and help further her design career. So I think it's really cool, to know that Brooke started that in order to continue to, give you as many different opportunities and resources as possible. And it's a really great, especially for fittings. It's just it's a public space, it's a professional business setting that is a little bit better than maybe a hotel room or your own home, that sort of thing. So that's always something to consider and available. So for those hours and any information on that, Sammy does the social media, and what's FAC's actual one?
FAC is at Fashion Arts Collective, just straight up. But then if there's also the guild attached to it, which supports it by raising community and funds. And that's FAC Fashion Guild. If you DM that, that's me. If you have any questions, I can get you in touch to the right people, or you can obviously ask any of us really, and we can all get you in touch. But if you DM FAC Fashion Guild, I can get you into contact with the woman who runs Fashion Arts Collective and operation and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great resource for you guys, but I have also sent your information on to Paula, who runs the building. So she will be sending you guys a little welcome email just to let you guys know her information and how you can get into the building. But beyond that, if you are ever wanting a last minute late hour opening or something like that, and you're not getting a hold of the right person, definitely DM those channels because Sammy can help you reach out. And we would love to encourage you guys to use that space, especially if you're out of town coming into Omaha. That's a great place to use to do any last minute alterations and fittings and things like that. But they also do provide like some free fabric scraps and tons of mentoring and community opportunities. So it's just a wonderful place to get involved with. Definitely check that out, you guys. Awesome. Thanks for the reminder, Alyssa. That's a perfect thing to bring up. Okay, and then we will jump into just a little bit about production, some forms you got to fill out, and then open it up to some final question and answer for you guys. So I have a list here about the different forms that you will need to fill out just so you have everything on your radar. You've already done almost half of them, so congratulations. You've done your application, you've done your participation agreement, and here you are. The next form that we'll need you to complete is a designer feature. It's so short, it only has 4 questions. And we'll just want you to kind of tell us a little bit about what inspires you, what inspired your collection. That way we can use that information to pull together a complete profile on you that we'll use for promotion on our blog and social media. We'll be snagging some great photos of you from either our past runway shows or your Instagram or your Facebook account so we can promote you properly. But all you have to do is answer about 4 questions. That designer feature is due December 11th. And there's a link right here. When I send you guys a recap of this recording, I'll also send you a link to this designer feature form. And then after you do that, you can enjoy the holidays. There's nothing to worry about till January, but we'll want a hair and makeup inspiration form from you as well. It is going to be an also super short form where you go into a little more detail about what you want your hair and makeup ideas to look like, and send us some inspiration photos. All of that information is compiled together in a lovely little presentation booklet that is printed off for our Beauty Alliance. So it's good to nail down exactly what you want to do. If you have ideas all over the map and you send us a ton of photos, we can work with that. All I'll do is kind of touch base with my Beauty Alliance and see what's doable, what's not, what do we need to simplify, because we're doing so many looks, about 100 to 200 looks every night. So just send me what you have, what's in your mind, and then I'll work with you. But that will be due January 8th so that we can be prepared for rack check and shows with your inspiration that they can reference while they're doing your looks. And it will just ask for a little short description and some photos. And then the next big one that we've already chatted about is model casting preferences, where you go through our entire database and select your favorites and your alternates. That's going to be open for 2 days only. It's our shortest form opening section, but you'll have January 19th and 20th to complete that. Like I said, we really, really need you to be on deadline with that. It won't be available any earlier or any later than those dates. And then the last form you'll complete during rack check in person. We'll shoot you the link to the rack check production form, which will kind of just detail some last information about you and your brand. It has the option to opt in for Shop the Runway Sunday. It also has the option to opt in to be reached out to by Heather and Jameson. They'll take runway photos for you, and they're going to give you 1 or 2 featured looks and then an entire collection March photo, but they're going to take photos of every single look in your collection. So if you'd like to purchase a package from them, they have all kinds of options. They also have the option to take runway video for you. All of it is super high production value. But if you want to opt into either of those things, that will be on that form. For now, though, just focus on that designer feature form and we'll be good. Shabiba, did you have a question?
I did have a question, just to make sure, because I know I did receive an email, but it said something about December 7th, or yeah, I think December 7th, that I needed to turn in like I don't know.
That's
One-on-one-
separate from this. So
Okay.
I can reach
Okay,
out to you one-on-one on that, but that is completely separate from this. There are some just like meet and greet things that we can do together on Zoom, but I'll send you an email about that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And that's a great reminder for me, that after this call, there are a few of you that I emailed that I would like you to stay tuned with me, to go through just like a sample presentation format. So if you guys can stay on after this call, we'll go through all of that. It'll take 15 minutes, but I'm just going to show you guys some past winning designer presentations, so you guys have an example of how we would like the panel to be presented to. Yeah, Tiffany.
I have a couple questions. As far as the hair and makeup, now is it just like a pool of artists that are doing, or is there like select people that are doing for certain designers, or how does that work?
Yeah, so our Beauty Alliance is made up of all volunteer students and pros. There are going to be about 40 to 50 in total and divided equally between hair and makeup. They are going to all be working on your collection. So we send collections in order of who's showing and kind of like difficulty levels. We make a schedule ahead of time based on all of that. And basically your entire collection is going to sit down with hair and makeup and get everything done. So it's spread out evenly amongst the entire team. That's why they all have booklets about your inspiration, and they all are briefed about this, and then they practice the look with you at rack checks. That way everyone's on the same page when it comes to like your overall vision. But it does get important that you have a nailed down vision of what you'd like in general. We've had people submit, for example, maybe 3 different hair inspiration photos, and your hair and makeup team isn't going to know who you want to have what look unless you divide it out based on the model's name for us, or you divide it out based on like a hair texture thing. So if you want just like our curly haired girlies to have a ponytail and straight haired girls to have a braid or whatever it is, you can make those notes in this form. And that's super important so that we can get through things and know who is getting what, and you don't have to like be present the entire time they're getting hair and makeup done and oversee that. So that's a good thing to bring up. Yeah.
But we will have like access to get to them, because like I'll have things that they'll have to like put into their hair and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
so you'll be
hats
in the
and
same room as them. You can literally walk up and talk to them. They might, even if they have a question, they might come and grab you. So it's important to like be present in the room and be available. And once they start pulling your first people, you'll definitely know, and you can just like bring the entire thing of hats or clips or whatever to them and tell them who gets what. All of that is super easy to happen. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question that I had, are we given any type of like backstage team, or can we bring assistants, or how does that work backstage?
Yeah, great question. So you will get access to one assistant. When you fill out that rack check final production information form, it will ask for the first and last name and email of your assistant. You have to definitely have that person, or if it changes, contact me in advance so that we can have the right people on our check-in list. Because our security won't let anyone in that isn't on our list, but you'll be able to have one person alongside you the whole time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anybody else have any other questions about hair and makeup, rack check, any of the things?
So you said if we're not local, we're supposed to email you, and then we're supposed to ship garments out for rack check.
For some reason, Carly is talking. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I wasn't grabbing whoever was talking. Sorry about that.
So I said I'm not local, obviously. So are we just supposed to, you said, ship garments out for rack check?
So I will contact you one-on-one. It's
Okay.
kind of like an exception to the rule of allowing people, but since you're from Pennsylvania and we have one designer from Alaska, those are the kind of situations where it's just too far to require you guys to come out for that. But I'll get in touch with you. If you want to send me an email reminding me, I'll send you some more information about that.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Anything else, guys? Otherwise, we'll dive into this production stuff. Okay. So last but not least, we have some production benefits that you guys get from being a part of it. We've talked about almost all of this, but I just want to highlight a few things. We also will set deadlines with you guys in terms of production content, specifically music and LED. Those things are with outside vendors, and we really need to have information to them and approve these things in a timely manner. So if you guys aren't on deadline with that, we'll be reaching out, and if it gets too far delayed, then we'll have to make decisions based on our vendors' expertise. And they are all experts, so they will be able to make something really beautiful happen for you. But if you want control of it, please just be on time. And then you'll of course get music, you'll get an LED wall display. We'll do beautiful ambient lighting around the space based on your collection color theme. You'll have projection screens that show your name, your label name, and a QR code that sends people to a direct sales link from the runway. You have a hair and makeup team that's lined up for the night that's going to be styling for you. And then Sammy's going to be doing some great marketing promotion for your brand. So all of those things are delivered as free benefits to you guys to make a really beautiful show. And just to make everything happen really smoothly, all we ask is that you are kind and supportive to us and our vendors and timely with your communication. And then as you're going through the season, be sure to like follow us, tag us, use some hashtags that are below just for a chance for us to share your content. If you tag us while you're working on your collection through the season, we're happy to share it as little teasers, and it's free promotion for you. So definitely take advantage of that. All the links are below. And at that, I have covered everything that I need to talk to you guys about. So I will open it up to some question and answer. Did we get everything out of the way? Anyone? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your time with us. If I did tell you via email to stick around after this call, please be sure to do so, and we will dive into a little bit more. But thank you guys.